Thank you again, all of you, so much for joining us, and thank you so much for your patience. My name is Holly Mays, and I work for the Department of Associated Students as the Assistant Director of Governmental Affairs. And to get us started today is your Internal Vice President, B. Schaefer.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. We're going to start off with the Chumash land acknowledgement. So I will get started. One moment. Let me pull it up. One second. One moment. Okay, so we ask you to join us in acknowledging the Chumash peoples, their elders, both past and present, as well as their future generations. We would like to take this opportunity for us all to reflect on how our work here, the work that we do here today in our knowledge and search for opportunities to teach and in every day in our chosen fields affects these lands and the peoples of these lands that we worked with in research to protect. We acknowledge that this university system was founded upon exclusion and erasures of many indigenous peoples, including those on whose land this institution is located, the villages and unceded lands of the Chumash people. This UCSB administration has failed to faithfully and dutifully support the traditional custodians of these lands, Chumash people, and indigenous students through their continued support of Mauna Kea, as we work together to prevent further damage of these lands and waters that support not only our livelihoods, recreation, lifestyles, research, and education. Remember that the Chumash peoples of this area have been separated from these lands, unable to maintain livelihoods as they should, unable to recreate traditionally, unable to maintain their traditional life ways freely, and unable to have the same access to these lands that we are provided to do their own traditional research and educate their future generations. The Chumash people are comprised of the descendants of indigenous peoples removed from their island of origin, Limu, Santa Cruz, Anapac, Anacapa, Wima, Santa Rosa, Tucán, San Miguel, subjugated by 5 missions during Spanish colonization of the Central Coast, from Malibu to Morro Bay and inland to Bakersfield. The villages upon which this university sits were a safe haven for maritime travelers. One second. This place with a place alive, trading, hospitality, and abundance, a place where knowledge for and from the surrounding areas far and wide was shared with all people of this place and its many visitors. The traditional place for sharing knowledge and education, a tradition this university has an obligation to remember. Many of the projects and research conducted by the university are within the traditional territory of the Chumash peoples and or affect the indigenous peoples in their territory. And in spite of all this, each tribe, council, clan, and band is working diligently to restore and continue their traditional stewardship practices on these lands and heal from the historical trauma. The damages that has been done and continue to be done by not sharing the true history and legacy this place in this place and others, and by exploitation of natural cultural resources of these areas can never be erased. There's no mitigation or research project can make their communities whole again, but we could do better. As educators, friends, and allies together, we can acknowledge the mistakes and atrocities of the past and move forward in remembrance and relationship with the local Chumash peoples and other indigenous peoples to facilitate their process of healing by making sure that our processes here make room for their Chumash and indigenous voices to be heard, their traditional ecological knowledge of these territories to be listened to, and their peoples to be a part of the healing of these lands and waters as well as themselves. This acknowledgement, though brief and in no way complete, demonstrates a commitment by this institution and their educators to begin the process of creating a relationship with the local Chumash and indigenous communities and work to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. We come together today to acknowledge, stand up for, and give voice to the unceded lands and waters of the Chumash and all of their people. Thank you all for listening. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Cohen to speak, our Vice Chancellor. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, B, for the land acknowledgement. Good morning, AS Senate. My name is Margaret Cohen. I'm the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs. My pronouns are she, her. And one of the great privileges of my position is to work with associated students. And I have been working with your AS executive officers we've already started a few weeks ago on some preparations for fall, and you have a really strong executive group this year. So I'm looking forward to a very productive year when you can get a lot done. I know also it feels very momentous to be welcoming you right now, because even though we're in this Zoom modality, I'm sure there's a lot of excitement and also some uncertainty and maybe a little bit of anxiety about what it's going to mean to return to in-person operations here at UCSB. So it's going to be kind of an unusual year of readjusting to what was our mode of working with each other, and hopefully of being able to realize some of the strengths of what we've realized works well in remote, and bringing that back together with what's been important about the community and the kinds of things that we can do when we're in person, and also the enjoyment that's part of being on the campus and some of the things that have been such important student rituals. So we're bringing a lot into this year. And I just want to say, I know that the last 18 months, wherever you've been, whether you were here or someplace else, have been rough. So I want to make sure that as we start this year, that you're thinking about the importance of taking care of yourselves and your friends. And please, our services are back to full operations, and you will find us on campus. So please don't hesitate to reach out for very important services. One of the things that's a benefit to you as part of Associated Students is to get some better introduction to all of the resources of the university. So please don't hesitate when you need help or you're worried about a friend. It's a sign of strength, actually, to be able to access a resource. So please don't hesitate to do that. And if you don't know about our wellbeing.ucsb.edu resource page, please familiarize yourselves with that. And you'll see there a whole range of resources for mental health support and basic needs, some of those provided by your very own Associated Students. So please keep that resource in mind. I hope you all have a wonderful fall quarter, and I'm really happy to be here with you today on the first day of the AS Leadership Summit. And it's my pleasure now to introduce Dr. Maricela Marquez, your Executive Director of Associated Students. Maricela.
Thank you, Margaret. Greatly appreciate you joining us this morning. And as you were saying, this is unique. And prior years, actually for the last 20, we have shared this opportunity in Corwin in person with the Office of Student Life, now known as SEAL. And so, to begin my remarks, I want to bounce back to Holly to play a pre-recorded message from Danielle, who is the director of SEAL, and they will also be welcoming you. Holly?
Yes. Give me 1 second to pull up that video. Like Maricela mentioned, Danielle was not able to be with us today, so we have a brief introductory video message from her that we're going to share, introducing herself, the department and the office, and putting a face to her name. So,
everybody, my name is Danielle, and I use she, her AM pronoun. I serve as the acting director for student engagement and leadership, which you'll be hearing as SEAL this year. Fun acronym. We are the home to registered campus organizations. We also refer to them as RCOs, including fraternities and sororities, leadership development programs, and we're here to support all UCSB students to get connected with RCOs who are registered in their office. We also want you to take advantage and participate in leadership development workshops that we host throughout the year, and many events that our campus partners and other departments host as well. You might be asking yourself, where can you find all this information? Is it one website? What's happening? So you can find all of these in one place called Shoreline. And this platform is one that is managed by my small but mighty team. My team also serves as the university's involvement advisors for our constituents. SEAL is a part of the Student Life Suite within the Division of Student Affairs, and we really encourage you to explore shoreline.ucsb.edu today. Thanks so much, and see you soon.
Well, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate that. And I do most definitely appreciate all the work that Holly has put into pulling us all together on one screen at one time. I will acknowledge that we have an extra watermark in each of our little squares. So if you've never seen that before, I know I have never seen it before, but it is on my screen. It's not a technical difficulty. Apparently, it's a feature. So I just want to let you know that we don't want to not acknowledge it. So by way of introduction, my name is Marisela Marquez, and I serve as your executive director for Associated Students. And I also prepare and deliver classes through the Department of Chicano Studies, sometimes political science as well. And I have prepared a few introductory remarks for us today, and so I'll read these now. So no matter what brings you to Associated Students this year, more than perhaps any other year, we have at least one thing in common. We have all been affected by a global pandemic. Clearly, each of us come into this academic year without knowing how the pandemic affected each other, but we do know that we have that one shared experience. This is a very unique moment in all of our lives. I invite you each to do an exercise for yourself that will, I hope, ground you now and ground you 1 year from now. I invite you to write a letter to yourself to be open 1 year from today. As you all know, today is September 13th, 2021. And just like I've never had a watermark across my face, to my knowledge, I also have experienced, like you all, a myriad of experiences that I never really knew I needed, or that I wanted, or that I would ever invite. However, I have had them and have learned a lot from them. In the letter I invite you to write to yourself, I ask you to include in this letter your responses to the following 3 questions. Number 1, what do you want to have learned about yourself in the next 12 months? What do you want to have learned about yourself in the next 12 months? Number 2, what 3 things are you grateful for today, September 13th, 2021? And finally, number 3, what would you like to have known a year ago? So September 13th, 2020. What would you have liked to have known then that you do know now? So I invite you to place your answers in a dated seal envelope and seal the envelope and set it in a location that you will remember to open it. And you know, anytime during this week, a year forward, but if you can somehow program yourself to open it on the 13th of September. My invitation is that with these questions, you will have set a baseline for yourself about who you are and what your expectations have been and your biggest accomplishment to date, which is what you are grateful for today. As an elected and appointed leader, your guidance, fellowship, knowledge, and skills will all be well conveyed by a variety of communication skills, not the least of which is really conveying what we expect from ourselves and what we expect from each other. And most primarily, you know, as a baseline, is making no assumptions. The goal is to articulate as much as we can for ourselves and each other. What do we expect from each other at any given moment or time? This year's Leadership Summit, as we've said now a couple of times, is unlike any other AS has ever been a part of or sponsored. It is primarily comprised of a series of modules that you'll experience over the next 3 days, communicating the tools, resources, and policies which are all at your disposal. As you begin your journey through this academic year through AS entities, you will both discover and develop new skills, resources, and tools. As Associated Student staff, we will continue to pay very close attention in order to provide these newly generated skills and resources to the next generation of campus student leaders, as we are doing today for you. This year's Leadership Summit varies from prior years, and we aren't in person with you. We're also not with our sister department, SEAL. However, we will always convey to you in every way that we can that our outreach and training objectives for today and for the next year is to combine our efforts, both synergistically, students and staff, to be able to progress and be able to reach all of your goals. With that, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you your 2021-2022 student body president, Yvonne Cohen. Yvonne?
Thank you, Maricela. I think Gio has to leave, so if they want to go first, I don't
Sure.
want. Yeah.
Would you like to introduce yourself and then them?
Hi, everyone. I'm Yvonne Cohen. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm your AS president. And I want to introduce Gio. They are our student advocate general.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
No, you can? Okay. Ooh. All right. Hi, everyone. I apologize. I am at work, but I can make it here. But let me just start off by just saying hello. My name is Giovanni Lucero, but y'all can just call me Gio. My pronouns are they, them, theirs, and I'm your student advocate general this year. If you don't know who I am or what I do, well, you're about to find out, so good for you. The Office of the Student Advocate is a nonpartisan executive branch of the UCSB Associated Students Government. We provide free and confidential peer-to-peer support services to any student, student group, or student organization facing a dispute against the university or any entity within the university. This can be any dispute regarding academic, student conduct, judicial affairs, housing, grievances, and or financial aid. We provide advice, guide you through appeals and hearings, and can advocate on your behalf and be present in your hearings at your request. In simpler terms, I'm your campus public defender. I work to challenge and change university policy or policies that are unfair to us students at UCSB. My office serves to provide you with the tools and information necessary in aiding and assisting you to address your situation individually, or with the assistance of one of our office staff members, aka my caseworker. Finally, we promote and educate students on their rights, resources, and university policies regarding student conduct, academics and financial aid, and judicial affairs. My vision for the 2021-22 OSA is to, one, continue researching and gathering information/data on the policing relationship between students and the police institutions present on our campus and community. I am aiming to discuss the issue of racial profiling, harassment, and misconduct by UCPD and the Isla Vista Foot Patrol with Chancellor Yang, and work with the Isla Vista Community Services District, UCSB for COLA, Organized IV, and other campus and local organizations to establish new resources and or approaches to community care and healing. Your safety and our well-being as a community is not something I will ever take lightly. I will work hard to provide a voice to students, communities, and identities that have been negatively impacted and targeted by the university's police force. I will also continue working with the other executive officers, the COVID-19 task force, the Return to Campus Working Group, Chancellor Yang, Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs Margaret Cohen, and other committees, boards, and entities necessary to ensure a safe return to in-campus learning and campus life. This, along with continuing to address the housing crisis our students experience, is my top priority. I want to make sure we not only have a safe return to campus, but also adequate resources and flexibility with our academics. This university has an obligation, per my saying and authority, to acknowledge and amend their mistakes and weak return to campus plans, and create long-term solutions to prevent this from repeating itself. This will require extensive conversations and around our student enrollment and housing availability, which I plan to initiate between the OSA and UCSB administration. Lastly, with regards to academic policies, the OSA will be reaching out to our academic senate and push for proper accommodations available to students facing academic difficulties due to COVID exposure or infection, houselessness, financial instability, and more. This includes, but is not limited to, remote learning options, reconsidering the self-plagiarism policy, and pass no pass options for courses. I will work with the UC Student Association Academic Affairs Officer and other academic affairs officials across UC campuses to negotiate and challenge UC-wide academic policies in solidarity with and according to our students' needs, wants, and rights. If needed, we will approach the UC-wide academic senate and share our academic advocacy goals. We will work as a collective to learn from each other's campus policies, actions, and experience. I ran for this position because I know what it feels like to be alone in this university. I was alone a majority of the time these past 4 years at this university now, with only the support and help from my closest friends and peers, and very few trusted staff and faculty members. I'm not just here for myself. You elected me to be a voice for you when necessary and requested, to fight for you, and to give you room to speak. As elected officials, we have a responsibility not only to ourselves, but to our student body especially, who entrusted us with the authority and positions we now hold in making this campus a safer, more accessible, and welcoming environment for all students. I hope you join me in working towards that goal. This is not an easy duty to take on, but nonetheless, you all showed the leadership skills necessary to fulfill this role and push it beyond its limits. We got this, y'all. I believe in you. Y'all can believe in me. I hope to work with as many of you as I can this year, and remember that your voice has power. A power so great, no institution or administrator or system can ever deny. If you'd like to contact me, I'll drop my email in the chat. It's as-advocate@ucc.edu. Thank you for your time. And sorry, this was a little loud. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Gio, for that introduction. And good morning, everyone. Welcome. Again, my name is Yvonne Cohen. I'm your AS president. And whether you're completely new to AS or you've been here a while, I'm very glad to see you all. Before I tell you about my vision for the school year, I want to tell you a little bit about what the president does and like how I've been spending my summer. So the president ultimately serves as your student representative, and I'm lucky enough to sit on many different committees, task forces, working groups, and I'm usually the only student at those meetings. But what's great about that is I really get to be your voice and make sure that all student needs are being represented and heard. And some of the things I've been working on with administration this summer is just really making sure that like all the chaos of the return to campus is as smooth as possible. And all AS execs, including myself, have just been trying to emphasize communication and really keep you all in the loop. And we're still continuing to work on those efforts, and we will be continuing to do that throughout this school year, because we know that COVID-19 is still very, very prevalent in all of our lives, and there's a lot of questions that we need answered. And some more stuff I've been working on this summer is the new AS bike shop, which is going to look super, super cool. I'm very excited for that. And also the basic needs vetting machine that was actually started by Allison Sir, who was the president the 2019-2020 school year. And I've definitely made it a priority to see through just a lot of the work that past presidents have not finished. And that actually brings me to my next topic of conversation, which is the AS strategic vision. So in 2015, when Jonathan Abood was president, I believe it was 2015, he created something called the AS strategic plan. And it was meant to serve as like a long-term plan for all of AS. So basically projects like the Pardal Center, Gaucho FYI, like more study spaces on campus, and countless of other things were a part of a 5-year plan. Yeah, 2013 to 2014, sorry. It was part of a long-year plan like within AS just to ensure that everything was followed through on. And in 2020, I was a member of President Allison Sir's office, and she made it her priority to focus on like reviving this plan since it had been 5 years and it was time for a new one. And I was lucky enough to be a part of the task force that worked with an analyst to compile all of the data from the 2015 plan and all of the information that the last 5 years brought us in order to come up with a new plan. And we surveyed thousands of undergrads and spoke to basically like every AS entity in BCU and worked for like over a year on this plan. And it was pretty amazing to see this project just come to life. And now as president, I get to make sure it's followed through on, which is great. So my office is just really going to focus on working within AS to make sure that the important goals of this plan are accomplished. And our major topics